I'm Sarah.
And I'm Sheila.
And we're just two friends, and we wanted to invite you to eavesdrop on a conversation we had recently, and we hope you find it helpful. So, Sheila, let's talk about Target.
Target. Okay, so I think it was September 2019. I don't know, somewhere thereabouts. I'm old. I've slept since then. I'm in Target minding my own business like I usually do. And this white person, almost rams me with her cart. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. You know, typical day in a black woman's world. And I happened to notice it was you because you said Sheila. I said, oh, Sarah. Okay, all right. This changes things. Okay, it looks like it's going to be a good turnout.
Yes. So I was in Target not minding my own business, which is how I like to go to Target. And I spotted Sheila, and in my defense, Sheila and I had met before, so that's good. We met, but I just saw Sheila, and you had just been on my mind and on my heart. We'd spoken a few weeks before that at church, just in passing. I'd introduced myself to you, and you'd just been on my mind. And so when I saw you in Target and almost ran you over with my cart, I felt like it was a God thing.
Right. And I don't know how it would happen, and fill in the blanks if you can. But one of the things you had asked me, because it's a predominantly white church, and one of the things you had said was, so why did you come to our church? And I honestly hadn't thought about it because I felt so welcomed, and no one had made a bad impression on me. And Pastor Johnny was in the Word. Mm-hmm. He was really a student of the Word, and that impressed me. So I kept coming back. And so somehow or another, we ended up on the topic of race. And what impressed me so much, Sarah, was that you seemed so comfortable talking about this. And I've got a diverse, group of people in my circle and people I associate with, but we didn't know each other that well quite yet. But you were very comfortable broaching the subject of race.
And in the produce section.
Yeah. We're standing there in the middle of Target.
With the bananas and the potatoes.
Having this deep conversation. And you had invited me towards the end of this, for a deeper conversation over, I think it was coffee or whatever. And you left me with a lot to think about after I left Target.
And I left just having forgotten to buy anything I went there for. So I didn't realize at the time that, that meeting with Sheila and me asking her to coffee was going to be such a big ask. I didn't realize what it was doing inside of her to have someone kind of put her on the spot like that.
Yeah.
So tell me what was going through your mind. I didn't realize until we finally met that was a really big ask that I had made. That's probably why I was so comfortable, because I wasn't
no pressure.
What I was
asking. No pressure for you. I was thinking like I'm thinking now. What if I got myself into? I thought, okay, I said yes, and I'm thinking, okay, what is going to be required? What is she looking for? It's kind of, and I think I shared this with you in our conversation, and I don't speak for all Black people, but from my experience and from history, I had every reason, and I told you this, to be suspect of a white person asking me such a really kind of personal, but at the same time impersonal question about, why are you at this church? What made you come? And why do you seem so comfortable? So I called everybody. Hey, this white lady just asked me, about this. What should I do? What should I say? What should I? And one of the things that came up in my mind, Sarah, was this poem, because I love poetry. It's called "We Wear the Mask" by Paul Laurence Dunbar. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever read it, and I recommend it to friends. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. And so it was a moment I knew that I would have to be myself and not wear the mask, because I truly wanted to serve you, and serving you by giving you the truth. And I was telling my friends, I'm like, I hope she knows what she signed up for when she asked me, about what is it like? And so the feedback was incredible, because everyone in my circle was like, this is an opportunity. this is an opportunity to teach someone. And I could tell that you were seeking to understand, because I had the discernment to realize that you were not asking from a place of malice or hate or circus-like curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
You really wanted to know, especially when you told me you had a Black brother-in-law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, for me, you asked me, why did you choose me?
Yeah.
Why did you?
Yeah.
And I think, well, I mean, let's start. It was the hair, okay? Because it's a great looking haircut, and I liked your style. And when we met briefly at church, we just connected and hit it off. And I've been here at Trinity Chapel for a long time, and I'm always looking for who's new and who's, but kind of sits on the outskirts and the fringes. Yeah. And Miss Sheila likes the back row.
Yes.
And so we had that brief interaction here, and I was like, oh, I want to know more of her story, because and part of my motivation for asking you, like, why did you come here, was not like, why did you come here?
Right.
It was like, you're giving us a gift of your vulnerability, because for a person of color to come into a primarily white space, that requires a great deal of vulnerability. I understand. That's what I've been told. So, and so I wanted to encourage you that I saw the blessing that was, and the courage that took to be in this space. Yeah. And I wanted to just, even if you didn't meet me for a future conversation, I wanted you to know that I saw you there, and I appreciated you being willing to come into our space and give us the blessing of a more diverse presence in our body. And I haven't regretted it.
Neither have I.
So let's talk about that conversation. We met for coffee. You said yes.
Yes.
And I just asked you to tell me more about what it's like to be a person of color in our world right now.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact things that I said, but I do know that I told you that I had been comfortable. And that is the story of my life, actually. And like I said, I don't speak for every Black person, but I know just being in this Black skin is a source of being uncomfortable, and not just for the person who embodies this Blackness, me, but the white people around me. Mm-hmm. And what struck me when I came here was that no one made me feel unwelcome. Mm-hmm. But I had made up my mind that if anyone made me feel uncomfortable, that I was in the right place. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, mm-hmm. but church is for the sick, people who need to be healed. And I knew that my being here would not only benefit me, because like I said, the word was being taught and I needed that, but the people, like you said, needed to be taught as well, who were already here. So I didn't really think about how uncomfortable I would feel, but I knew that some people were wondering, why is she here?
So I just asked you.
I loved it that you asked me that. And it was the word being taught, the way it was being taught. The people around me who made me feel comfortable, because people did introduce themselves to me. And the convenience, of course, is right down the street. But
now we know the truth.
That's a cherry on top. But those things, and I'm used to being uncomfortable. To me, being uncomfortable is a sign of growth. It's a sign of courage and being vulnerable. And those things are very important to me. And being in the Bible, because I remember that day that we had met, it was a Sunday, and the sermon went, Pastor Johnny wrote, following Jesus is hard. Mm. It takes courage. And Jesus taught us so many lessons about loving each other. And it's hard to love someone, especially being a person of color, when I have to go to stores and wonder, why is this person following me? Mm. Or why is this person, greeting me right off the bat, but no one else they're greeting? They're, letting me know that I see you and I'm keeping my eye on you. Being ignored at meetings, the person who's leading the meeting comes in and speaks to everyone, but doesn't speak to me. And I know you see me, I'm the only one there of color. Those challenges, doing that and being careful when I go to a store not to carry a big purse that opens, and being mindful that I'm not putting my hands on everything, because I remember being taught as a little girl, we got the talk. This is a different talk.
Mm-hmm.
You go to this store, don't touch anything. Meanwhile, I see white little girls and boys they're just running the store. And so
She's talking about my kids, by the way. They're terrible.
So these are things that affected my entire life, working in this system of racism, and that's what it is. So I appreciated that when I was talking to you, that you listened. And I told this story to everyone who would hear. I said, I had this conversation with this white lady who asked me what it was like to be me. And she did something that was phenomenal, which was listen. I'm getting a little emotional here, but you didn't defend, you didn't discount, you didn't disrespect my experience that I was communicating to you. And I gave it to you raw. I didn't hold back. I didn't sugarcoat. You and I both had a really honest conversation. And you have no idea, Sarah, how important that was for you to just listen. Because I've had experiences where I'll try to communicate, hey, to a coworker or someone who's, participating in a conversation where I'm the minority. And I'll say, man, I don't know if he or she, heard me, or did you see the way he said that to me? And the non-Black coworker, are you sure you're being sensitive? That's not what I heard. Surely he didn't mean that. Just totally, it didn't happen. You're seeing things. And sometimes I felt I was being gaslighted and things like that. Mm. So what you gave me was a gift. You think I gave you gave me a gift in that. And I remember also telling you, please go tell your white friends. What did you think of that when I said that?
I was all for it. Because I'm hungry for these conversations. I want to have them, but it is a huge thing to ask someone mm-hmm. to give you their story. And so when I found someone who was willing to give me that gift, I was excited. And I'm excited to be here sharing this conversation with others, because I think in the midst of all of the conversations, sometimes we lose the heart of each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's what stood out to me about you from the first time I met you, was your heart. It was really obvious. And so I'm just excited to get to have this conversation with you. And I guess that's kind of my last thing that I want us to talk about is so people are listening to our conversation. They're being nosy like I was. Mm-hmm. Besides tell your white friends to just initiate these conversations, what else do we need to be doing as the church to be bringing these conversations and these issues to light?
Speak out. The protest signs that I saw, a lot of them said silence is compliance. And it is. It's signing on. It's co-signing what's going on about you. So when I said, tell your friends, your white friends, it wasn't just, I'm glad that you're getting it. I want people to, especially my white brothers and sisters, for instance, at these holiday get-togethers or at the Thanksgiving table, and there's an Uncle Bob who is just
let's not
that
talk
whole, not that you have one, but that relative, right, that just seems to be back in the days of, the cotton picking, those days. And people just dismiss him. Oh, that's just Uncle Bob. No, that's co-signing. Because guess what? Uncle Bob has an audience there at that table who are not, dismissing him as, oh, that's Uncle Bob. There are some people at that table who are like, so tell me more, Uncle Bob. So we have to be active. And it doesn't have to be a huge act of, going out and protesting. Everyone serves a purpose. It can be something as small as saying, we're not going to invite Uncle Bob anymore. Or asking Uncle Bob, we don't agree with that.
Then you start to get a reputation. Because I was having
Right.
a conversation with someone and they started to say something and they're like, I'm not going to say that because you're going to get upset with me.
And that's where the courageousness comes in. That's where we have to say, as far as me and my house, we're serving the Lord.
Ooh, that's good.
Now, Uncle Bob or his ilk, they can make a choice. So that is one of the things that I would say when I said, go tell your white friends.
I think the other thing about that is the poem you referenced about the mask is just helping. Once I've had the conversation, I realized the double life you have to lead just to survive, helping educate other people about the realities. Because if we're not wearing that same mask, we don't know what you're being asked to do in the two different Americas and two different worlds that you're being asked to move around in. And so I think there's a huge opportunity for us to just educate ourselves.
Excellent. Yeah. There are so many things that are out there now, like books and films and so many resources. I have my personal ones. I'm not here to endorse any. But educate yourself. And in this educating of yourself, do a self-assessment. Go deeper. When you read things or something that triggers you, like I think we all had a chance to go out and see the movie Just Mercy. And I remember you telling me how it resonated with the people who had gone. And so when you watch, not just watch to be entertained, but watch to be engaged, enlightened, and educated. Go deeper. Why do I have these biases? Why do I have these feelings? I have a thing that I do when I catch myself catching feelings, whether they are positive or negative, but particularly the negative ones. I pump the brakes and say, oh, Sheila, what's that? Okay, what's that? What's that? What is that, Sheila? The whole being self-aware. Because I know that when I interact, particularly just with anyone, I'm aware of what's being communicated and what's not being communicated. And so it's just being willing to have those hard conversations after educating yourself. And that should be an ongoing thing. It's not a one and done, right? And the self-reflection is not a one and done. The being introspective. But then you got to test it, right?
And I would say, remember that this is not about you.
Yeah.
It's not about me. And so I think I've had conversations like ours in the past where I was defensive. And it's because it was about me and I was feeling responsible and guilty. And like I was in the center of the narrative and through some other painful experiences, quite honestly, the Lord has delivered me from feeling like I have to be the center of the narrative. And so if I can take myself out and listen and take responsibility, but not in such a way that like everything you're saying is not about me.
Right.
We just met a year ago. And that allows me to listen from a place of engagement and not from defensiveness. And that requires you listening to the Lord saying and doing some self-reflection of what's this? I love that question. What's this?
What is this?
Because that will get in the way of these good conversations. And I think the other thing is being willing for me to approach you and you telling me I'm not up for that conversation.
Right.
And be okay with that.
Be okay with it.
And even if you get upset with me, be okay with that and just say, like, this is a talk for another day or for another person. So I think there's a lot of good action steps. I think that's my action step is just do the work inside of yourself that makes you more available to having these conversations. And that just, And the good news, the great news is that no matter what your history with these racial issues is, we have a Lord and Savior that offers forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it's not a blank slate so that you can pretend it never happened.
Exactly.
But his unconditional love gives us courage to face the mess in our pasts and in our hearts now. And so that's the difference between any other racial reconciling conversations. We have a Savior who is paid for this. And so we don't have to be afraid to look at where we're wrong, because he loves us. And, you know, he's asking us to surrender that to him so that he can make these relationships happen and work. And so I'm really grateful that we got to do this. And I'm grateful for anyone who's been eavesdropping and listening to our conversation. It's been a blessing to me, and I hope it has also been a blessing to you. Thank you so much, Sheila.
Yeah, thank you.